Men speak often of freedom. They celebrate it. They demand it. They believe they possess it. Yet how many truly live free? Look closer, and you will see chains everywhere. Not chains of iron, but chains of the soul. The man who cannot master himself is not free, no matter what flag he waves, no matter what throne he sits upon. He is a prisoner, and his jailer is within. The Stoics understood this truth. Epictetus, born a slave, taught that freedom is not about circumstance, but about mastery. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." How striking it is that a man bound in chains could speak of freedom with more clarity than kings. For Epictetus had seen the truth. You can be shackled in body and yet free in soul, or you can walk unbound in body and yet live as a slave to your own weakness. Freedom versus slavery of the self. What does it mean to be a slave to yourself? Consider the man who wishes to wake early, but cannot rise from bed. He is not free. He is ruled by comfort. Consider the one who says, "I will not drink tonight," but pours another glass when the craving comes. He is not free. He is ruled by desire. Consider the man who promises peace, but explodes in rage at a simple insult. He is not free. He is ruled by anger. These men live without chains on their wrists, yet they are chained in their souls. Their impulses are the masters, and they obey without question. What kind of freedom is this? The illusion of modern freedom. We live in an age where freedom is worshipped. Freedom of speech, freedom of choice, freedom of movement. Yet most men are still slaves. Slaves to distraction, slaves to comparison, slaves to the endless cycle of consumption. They call it freedom, to scroll endlessly, to drink without limit, to buy without need. But this is not freedom. It is slavery disguised as pleasure. The Stoics would call this what it truly is, bondage to weakness. Marcus Aurelius warned himself daily not to be carried away by the noise of the world. He reminded himself that the true empire to rule was his own mind. The emperor of Rome, with armies at his command, confessed that he still had to fight his greatest war against himself. The weight of illusion. Why do men cling to this illusion of freedom? Because it is easier to blame the world than to face themselves. To say, "I am free, I can do what I want," while being unable to resist temptation, is self-deception. Seneca wrote, "He who is a slave to himself is truly a slave." A man can own wealth, command servants, and still be chained by greed. Another can hold high office, yet tremble in fear of death. Another can enjoy fame, yet remain addicted to applause. All are slaves, though dressed in crowns and robes. The Stoic vision of true freedom. The Stoics turned the idea of freedom upside down. For them, freedom was not indulgence, but mastery. It was not the absence of limits, but the presence of discipline. Epictetus urged his students, "Is freedom anything else than the right to live as we wish?" Nothing else. But tell me, do you wish to live in fear, in desire, in envy? Number. Therefore, if you are not free from these passions, you are not free. Freedom is the ability to say no to the self that wishes for ruin. It is the ability to rise when the body is tired, to stay silent when anger demands words, to endure when fear demands retreat. The path beyond illusion. The first step toward freedom is to see the chains. Most men never look. They confuse indulgence with liberty, distraction with choice, weakness with individuality. They say, "This is who I am." But no, this is who their chains have made them. The Stoic strips away illusion. He asks, "Am I in control, or am I controlled?" Each answer reveals whether he is free or still enslaved. Freedom without mastery is illusion. The man who indulges every impulse, who obeys every craving, who avoids every hardship, he does not live free, he lives bound. The Stoics knew that the chains of the soul are heavier than any iron. So look closely. Are you free, or are you only pretending? The first war is within. The first enemy is yourself. Conquer yourself, or remain a slave. Comfort is sweet, soft, and inviting. It promises peace, but delivers weakness. It whispers, stay a little longer, rest a little more. Avoid the hard path, and most obey, thinking they are free, when in truth they are bound. The Stoics taught that comfort is not a friend, but an enemy, the first chain that enslaves the soul. For the man ruled by comfort can never rule himself. The nature of comfort. Comfort is not evil in itself. A warm bed, a safe home, good food, these are blessings. But when comfort becomes addiction, it poisons. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." A life of only comfort polishes nothing. The man who flees discomfort flees growth. He avoids the cold, so he never strengthens. He avoids challenge, so he never learns courage. He avoids pain, so he never learns endurance. Comfort is a silent enemy, robbing strength while pretending to give peace. Comfort as a modern chain. In ancient Rome, comfort came as banquets, luxury villas, and endless leisure. Today, it arrives as screens, fast food, soft couches, and endless entertainment. The forms have changed, but the chain is the same. Modern life whispers constantly, why suffer? Why strain? Take the easy road, yet the easy road leads nowhere. It leads only to weakness, regret, and chains unseen. The Stoics resisted this by discipline. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that hardship was natural, that life was not meant to be ease but effort. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way comfort avoids impediment." Stoicism embraces it. Why comfort weakens the soul? The man who lives in comfort cannot endure loss. When hardship comes, and it always comes, he crumbles, for he has never trained his body or his mind to endure. Comfort makes the body soft and the spirit fragile. The soldier who never trains in rain cannot march in storms. The thinker who never faces insult cannot stand in debate. The man who avoids discomfort avoids the very training that life demands. The Stoic practice against comfort. The Stoics did not reject all pleasure, but they trained to resist its chains. Seneca practiced poverty days, living with coarse bread, rough clothing, and bare ground. He asked, "Is this what I feared?" By facing discomfort willingly, he became free from fear of losing luxury. Epictetus, once a slave, taught his students not to depend on comfort, but to harden the soul. Freedom, he said, is not in having ease, but in not needing it. Modern applications. How do we break free from modern comfort? Cold showers train the body to endure what it dislikes. Voluntary simplicity. Spend days with little and realize you need less than you think. Physical training. Push the body beyond ease. Discipline the mind through effort. Digital fasting. Step away from screens and face silence. Seek hardship. Choose the difficult path on purpose. Growth lies there. These are not punishments, but training. For the man who embraces discomfort becomes unbreakable. The fruits of breaking comfort. When comfort is conquered, strength awakens. You no longer panic when ease is lost. You no longer tremble when hardship arrives. Resilience. You can endure storms because you trained in rain. Confidence. You know you need little, so nothing can enslave you. Freedom. No luxury owns you. Strength. Each hardship faced adds to your fortress. The cost of remaining in comfort. The man who worships comfort wastes life. He grows weaker as the years pass, softer in body, fragile in mind. When trial finally comes, he collapses. Comfort gave him nothing but chains. Seneca warned, "It is not that life is short, but that we waste much of it." Comfort is the greatest waste, for it steals years without you noticing. Comfort is the first enemy of freedom. It looks harmless, even kind, but it enslaves more deeply than chains. The Stoics knew, if you cannot endure discomfort, you cannot endure life. So step into the cold. Face the hard path. Break comfort before it breaks you. For the man who conquers comfort does not only grow strong, he grows free. Fear is ancient. It once kept men alive when predators hid in shadows. But today, fear no longer comes from lions in the grass. It comes from failure, rejection, judgment, and risk. Unlike the lion, these fears are illusions, born in the mind. The Stoics taught that fear is not in the world, but in our perception of it. And if you do not break fear, it will break you. The nature of fear. Fear is the anticipation of pain. It is suffering before the suffering. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Think of the speech you dreaded, the failure you imagined, the rejection you feared. Was it as bad as your mind predicted? Almost never. Fear multiplies reality. A small challenge becomes a mountain. A small loss becomes ruin. A small risk becomes death. Fear makes shadows larger than they are. How fear enslaves fear does not only cause trembling, it causes paralysis. How many dreams have died, not because they were impossible, but because fear stopped action. Fear whispers, "Wait for the right time. Don't risk failure. Don't look foolish." And while you wait, life passes. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." The man ruled by fear lives half a life, always shrinking back, never stepping forward. He appears alive, but his spirit is chained. The Stoic response to fear. The Stoics did not deny fear, they confronted it. Epictetus asked, "When you are about to act, ask yourself, if I fear this, what does it say about me?" To the Stoics, fear was not a signal to retreat, but a test of the soul. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is mastery of fear. To act despite trembling, that is strength. The Stoic does not wait for fear to vanish. He acts, and in action, fear dissolves. Exercises to break. Fear. Name the fear. Write exactly what you fear. The unknown shrinks once described. Worst case drill. Imagine the worst outcome, accept it, and move forward anyway. Small doses. Step into fear gradually. Speak up. Take risks. Face discomfort. Shift perspective. Ask, will this matter in a year? In death, most fears vanish under eternity. Nightly reflection. Ask, what fear ruled me today? What could I have done anyway? These exercises turn fear into training. Each step weakens its hold. Fear in modern times. Fear has new faces. Fear of missing out. Fear of being judged online. Fear of rejection in love or work. Fear of failure in business. These are illusions, but they chain millions. The Stoic refuses to be ruled by reputation or outcome. He focuses only on effort, which is in his control. Success is uncertain, but courage is his choice. The fruits of courage. When fear is broken, life expands. You can speak without trembling, try without hesitation, endure without despair. Clarity. Fear no longer distorts reality. Action, you move forward, even when unsure. Strength, each conquered fear adds armor to your soul. Freedom, no illusion can rule you. The cost of fear, the man who obeys fear loses twice, once in imagination, and again in reality. He avoids the risk and loses the reward. He avoids the trial and loses the growth. Fear steals opportunity, potential, and life itself. Seneca reminded, "It is not that life is short, but that we make it so." Fear is one of the greatest thieves of life. Fear is the chain that keeps men small. It exaggerates shadows, paralyzes will, and wastes years. The Stoics knew fear is not to be fled, but faced. So name your fear, step into it. Break it before it breaks you. For the man who conquers fear may still tremble, but he moves forward. And that is freedom. Desire feels like fire. It warms at first, but left unchecked, it consumes. It whispers promises. If I have this, then I will be happy. If I gain that, then I will be complete. Yet satisfaction never arrives. The Stoics taught that unchecked desire is one of the greatest chains of the human soul. For the man who obeys every craving is not free. He is a slave to endless hunger. The nature of desire. Desire in itself is not evil. Hunger for food, thirst for water, longing for companionship, these are natural. The danger is when desire rules instead of serves. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." The wealthy man may own gold and land, but if he is restless for more, he is poorer than the beggar content with bread. The truth is simple. You are not enslaved by what you lack, but by what you cannot stop craving. The illusion of fulfillment. Desire is deceptive. It convinces you that happiness lies just beyond your reach. A man says, "Once I have this, then I will rest." He gains it, and desire whispers again, "No, not this, something greater." Like a fire fed by wood, desire grows with each indulgence. The more you satisfy it, the stronger it burns. To obey desire is to run in a race with no finish line. The Stoic answer to desire. The Stoics knew that true freedom comes not from gaining more, but from needing less. Epictetus warned, "Freedom is not achieved by satisfying desires, but by eliminating them. The wise man enjoys what he has, but does not depend on it. He tastes pleasure, but does not cling to it." Seneca practiced poverty days, eating coarse bread, wearing simple clothes, sleeping on the floor. He asked himself, "Is this what I feared?" In doing so, he discovered that he could endure loss, and thus no luxury could enslave him. Modern faces of desire. In the modern age, desire has multiplied. It is no longer only gold, food, or power. It is likes, followers, status, endless consumption. Advertising whispers, "You are incomplete. Buy this, consume this. Be more," yet the man who obeys this voice never rests. He scrolls endlessly, shops endlessly, consumes endlessly, and still he feels empty. The Stoic sees this for what it is, bondage to illusion. Exercises to break desire, voluntary poverty. Live simply for a day, eat little, wear little, and see that you endure. Delay gratification. When craving arises, wait before acting. Most desires fade. Gratitude practice. Write daily what you already have. Gratitude kills craving. Limit indulgence. Stop before pleasure becomes dependency. Reflect on mortality. Remember, none of these possessions will follow you to the grave. The fruits of breaking desire. When desire is mastered, peace returns. The man who is content is unshakable. Contentment, happiness in what is present, not what is missing. Freedom, no craving owns you. Strength, You can endure loss without despair. Joy. Pleasures taste sweeter when they are not chains. The cost of desire. The man ruled by desire is never free. He becomes dependent, restless, and fragile. His wealth is never enough. His pleasures never satisfy. His hunger never ends. Desire enslaves not by taking, but by making everything insufficient. Seneca warned, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Poverty of the soul, not the body, is the true tragedy. Desire is the endless hunger that consumes the soul. It promises joy, but delivers slavery. The Stoics knew the way to freedom is not to indulge desire, but to master it. So eat simply, want less, be grateful, break desire before it breaks you. For the man who conquers desire may not have everything, but he lacks nothing. Anger feels like strength. The clenched jaw, the raised voice, the heat rising in the chest. It convinces you that you are powerful. But the Stoics warn that anger is not power. It is weakness, pretending to be strong. Seneca called anger a brief madness. For when rage takes over, reason flees, judgment collapses, and destruction begins. If you do not break anger, it will break you. The nature of anger. Anger arises when reality defies expectation. Someone insults you, betrays you, disobeys you. You expected obedience, loyalty, respect. When reality does not align, anger surges. But what is anger truly? It is the refusal to accept that others act according to their nature, not yours. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake, remind yourself, today you will meet interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness." By expecting offense, he disarmed anger before it struck. The illusion of power. The angry man feels unstoppable, but this is illusion. Anger blinds. It makes the hand strike harder, but less accurately. It makes the tongue speak louder, but with less wisdom. Anger wounds the one who holds it more than the one who receives it. Seneca observed, "Anger, if not restrained, is more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." The insult lasts a moment. The wound of anger can last years. How anger enslaves because it makes you reactive. You are no longer master of yourself. Any insult, any offense, any delay can control you. Epictetus said, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." To live in anger is to surrender your freedom to strangers. The Stoic response to anger. The Stoics did not deny anger. They disciplined it. They taught that insults are not wounds, but opinions. Words cannot break bones. An enemy can curse you, but only you can choose to be hurt. Marcus Aurelius counseled himself, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. To answer anger with anger is to become the very thing you despise." Exercises to break anger. Delay response. Do not act in rage. Step back, breathe, let time cool the fire. Lower the voice, speak softer when tempted to shout. Calmness is power. Reframe insult. Remember, offense comes from ignorance, not truth. Perspective of time. Will this matter in a year, in death? If not, why burn now? Practice forgiveness. Release anger, not for their sake, but for your freedom. Modern faces of anger. Today, anger thrives online. Outrage is currency. People trade insults for attention. But constant anger does not strengthen. It exhausts. It clouds reason, fuels division, and chains the mind. The Stoic chooses a higher path. He does not waste himself on every offense. He answers with silence, or with calm, or not at all. The fruits of mastery. When anger is conquered, clarity returns. You can face insult with dignity, conflict with calm, hardship with patience. Clarity, you see beyond red haze. Respect, even enemies admire the calm warrior. Strength, no insult can move you. Freedom, no man controls you with words. The cost of anger, history is filled with men destroyed not by enemies, but by their own rage. Empires collapse when rulers lash out blindly. Families fracture when tempers rule tongues. The angry man burns not only others, but himself. Seneca reminded, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. For time reveals what rage hides. Anger is fire, but not strength. It is weakness set ablaze, destroying the one who holds it. The Stoics knew that true power lies in mastery, not fury. So pause, breathe, refuse to be mastered by insult. Break anger before it breaks you. For the calm mind is the strongest fortress, and the disciplined soul is untouchable. Complaints are easy. They cost nothing, demand no courage, and achieve no change. Yet they drain strength, poison the soul, and multiply suffering. The Stoics taught that nothing wastes life more than complaining. For while hardship is real, complaint adds a second wound. You suffer not only in reality, but in words. If you do not break complaint, it will break you. The nature of complaints. When adversity strikes, you have two choices: endure or complain. Endurance strengthens, complaint weakens. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." Complaints magnify the pain, replaying it again and again until it grows larger than it is. The man who complains believes he is lightening his burden. In truth, he is making it heavier. Why complaints weaken the soul? Complaining is a declaration of defeat. It is saying, I am powerless, I cannot bear this, I demand pity. But pity does not heal, and bitterness does not solve. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Complaint focuses only on what lies outside your control, leaving you weaker with each word. The habit of complaint. The danger of complaint is not only in the words, but in the habit. Each time you voice dissatisfaction, you train yourself to expect comfort, to resent reality, to surrender to weakness. Soon, even the smallest hardship feels unbearable, because your soul has been conditioned to whine, not to endure. The Stoic response to hardship. The Stoics faced exile, betrayal, slavery, and death. Yet their writings are not filled with bitterness, but with wisdom. Why? Because they refuse to waste life on complaint. Epictetus, once a crippled slave, taught, do not complain of hardship, for it is the universe training you. To him, every trial was an opportunity. Complaints blind you to lessons, endurance reveals them. Modern culture of complaints. Today, complaint has become culture. Social media thrives on outrage, gossip, and dissatisfaction. People complain about traffic, weather, politics, jobs, relationships, yet few act and fewer accept. Complaint spreads like a virus. One man's bitterness infects another. The Stoic refuses to participate. He saves his energy for action or for silence, not for endless words. Exercises to break complaints. Complaint fast. Spend one day without complaint. You will see how often the urge arises. Reframe adversity. Instead of asking, why me? Ask, what lesson hides here? Action or acceptance. If it is in your control, act. If not, accept. Complaint is neither. Gratitude practice. Replace complaint with thanks. Each day, count blessings. Nightly review. Ask yourself, did I waste words today in complaint? Could I have stayed silent? The power of silence. The man who bears hardship in silence is stronger than the man who shouts in bitterness. Silence does not mean weakness. It means mastery. Marcus Aurelius endured betrayal and plague without complaint. His words in Meditations are not cries of despair, but calm reminders of virtue. Silence speaks louder than complaint. It declares, "This may hurt me, but it cannot break me." The fruits of breaking complaint. When the habit of complaint is broken, the soul feels lighter, not because pain vanishes, but because suffering is not multiplied. Peace, no bitterness repeating pain. Strength, energy saved for endurance or action. Respect, others admire the one who endures silently. Wisdom, lessons seen where complaint once blinded. The cost of complaint, a life of complaint, is a life wasted. You replay pain endlessly until nothing feels bearable. You repel others, weaken yourself, and waste the short years you have. Seneca warned, "It is not that life is short, but that we make it so." Complaints shorten life not by years, but by joy. Complaints are the music of weakness. They change nothing, build nothing, heal nothing. The Stoics knew that silence and action are strength, but complaint is surrender. So hold your tongue, save your breath. Act where you can, accept where you cannot. Break complaint before it breaks you. For the man who endures silently is stronger than the one who shouts in bitterness. Laziness rarely arrives with violence. It creeps in quietly, disguised as comfort, disguised as harmless delay. It whispers, "Not now. Later. Tomorrow." And so the hours slip, the days dissolve, the years vanish. The Stoics knew that laziness is not rest, it is decay. For the man who obeys laziness does not merely waste time, he wastes life itself. The nature of laziness. The lazy man does not always sleep. Sometimes he is busy with trivialities, avoiding what truly matters. He scrolls, he distracts, he fills his hours with tasks that require no courage, no strain. He convinces himself he is active, but in truth, he is avoiding duty. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short life, but that we waste much of it." Laziness is life wasted in disguise. Why laziness enslaves? The body grows stronger with effort. The mind sharpens with use. The will strengthens with challenge. But when laziness rules, all three decline. Muscles weaken, thoughts dull, and the soul softens. Laziness is not neutral. It is active surrender. Marcus Aurelius rebuked himself each dawn. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, "I rise to do the work of a man." Even an emperor, surrounded by comfort, knew that rising to duty was the mark of freedom. The illusion of rest, laziness, deceives by posing as rest, but rest is recovery after effort. Laziness is avoidance of effort. Rest strengthens. Laziness decays. The man who rests after labor finds renewal. The man who rests without labor finds emptiness. The Stoics valued rest, but never without the foundation of discipline. The Stoic response to laziness. The Stoics answered laziness with duty. They believed each day was a gift not to be squandered. Epictetus asked his students, "How long will you delay before you demand the best of yourself?" To him, laziness was betrayal, not only of self, but of life itself. Weakness waits for motivation. Strength acts from discipline. Exercises to break. Laziness, guard the morning. Rise as planned, not as desired. The first victory sets the tone for the day. Start small. Begin with one action, however small. Action breeds momentum. Discipline the body. Train daily. A disciplined body sharpens a disciplined mind. Focus time. Work in set blocks, refusing distraction. Daily review. Each night ask, Did I live fully today, or did I waste it? Modern faces of laziness. Today, laziness hides behind glowing screens, endless scrolling, meaningless shows, shallow conversations. It calls itself relaxing, but it is surrender. A man can waste entire years not in labor, not in hardship, but in idleness disguised as leisure. The Stoic refuses this slavery. He trains attention, disciplines time, and uses each day as if it were his last. The fruits of breaking laziness. When laziness is defeated, potential awakens. Energy. Action creates momentum. Motion fuels motion. Confidence. Each task completed strengthens belief. Growth. Skills sharpen. Character hardens. Freedom. You are no longer bound by weakness of will. The cost of laziness. The man who obeys laziness wastes not only hours, but opportunity. He dreams but never acts, plans but never begins, desires but never achieves. His life ends not with tragedy, but with regret. Seneca lamented, "Life is long if you know how to use it." The lazy man shortens life by wasting what was long enough. Laziness is the silent killer of potential. It robs hours, weakens spirit, wastes life. The Stoics knew this, which is why they rose, acted, endured, and worked each day. So rise when comfort whispers. Act when excuses call. Break laziness before it chains you forever. For the man who conquers laziness does not only gain strength, he gains life itself. Envy is quiet, but deadly. It does not strike like anger or roar like fear. It whispers, it corrodes, it poisons. The Stoics taught that envy is one of the most destructive weaknesses, for it blinds you to your blessings and chains you to bitterness. The man who envies cannot rejoice, cannot rest, cannot see clearly. He is rich in possessions, perhaps, but poor in peace. The nature of envy. Envy is not about having little. It is about resenting that others have more. A man with bread may feel hunger, not for food, but for his neighbor's feast. A man with gold may feel poor, not because he lacks, but because another has more. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Envy is poverty of the soul, a blindness to abundance. Why envy enslaves? Envy enslaves by turning your gaze outward. You cannot see your own blessings because your eyes are fixed on another's fortune. Gratitude dies where envy lives, and without gratitude, peace cannot exist. Worse, envy poisons relationships. You cannot truly admire a friend's success if you secretly resent it. You cannot love fully while wishing to have what another owns. Envy turns fellowship into rivalry, celebration into bitterness. The Stoic response to envy. The Stoics dismissed envy as irrational. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. Why torment yourself over what lies outside your control?" Epictetus urged, "Do not envy the man who has wealth. He may have it, but you have the ability not to need it." True freedom is not in possessing what others possess, but in mastering the need to compare. Modern faces of envy. Today, envy has new tools. Social media magnifies it, showing polished lives, curated happiness, endless highlights. People compare their behind the scenes to others' staged moments, and envy grows. But much of what is envied is illusion, filtered images, staged smiles, debts hidden behind luxury. The Stoic sees through the facade. He asks not, "Who has more?" but, "Am I living with virtue?" Exercises to break envy. Gratitude daily. Each day, write what you already have that others may envy. Perspective shift. Ask, "Would I also take their burdens, not only their blessings?" Often, the answer is no. Limit comparison. Avoid the environments that inflame envy, such as endless scrolling. Celebrate others. Train yourself to rejoice in another's success as if it were your own. Reflect on mortality. Remember, beauty, wealth, and fame all vanish in death. Why envy what is temporary? The fruits of breaking envy. Breaking envy opens the soul to joy, gratitude. You see what you already hold. Peace. No bitterness over another's fortune. Freedom. No compulsion to measure against others. Love. Ability to admire and celebrate without resentment. The man free of envy is rich, even if poor. The man full of envy is poor, even if rich. The cost of envy. Envy wastes life. It robs joy from blessings, blinds you to abundance, and chains you to endless dissatisfaction. The envious man dies 1,000 deaths, each time another succeeds. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. The envious man is doubly unhappy. He avoids his own trials and obsesses over others' triumphs. Envy is poison. It blinds the eyes, hardens the heart, enslaves the soul. The Stoics knew that the cure was gratitude, humility, and perspective. So count your blessings. Rejoice in another's gain. Break envy before it breaks you. For the man who conquers envy does not lack. He sees that he has always been abundant. Pride is subtle. It does not chain the hands, but it blinds the eyes. It does not roar like anger, nor ache like fear. It flatters, deceives, and hardens. The Stoics warn that pride is one of the most dangerous weaknesses, because it convinces a man that he has already arrived, already mastered, already above correction. And the man who believes he has nothing to learn is already enslaved. The nature of pride. Pride whispers, "You are better than them." You cannot be wrong. You already know it builds walls around the soul, making it deaf to counsel, blind to truth. Seneca cautioned, "The wise man considers himself in all things a learner." But pride silences the student within. Once you believe you cannot be taught, you are condemned to ignorance. Why pride? Enslaves. Pride enslaves by locking growth. The man who refuses correction cannot improve. The man who refuses humility cannot deepen. The man who refuses to admit weakness cannot gain strength. Epictetus declared, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Pride fills the cup so full that no wisdom can be poured in. Pride in power and success. Pride often grows where success blossoms. The soldier who wins battles begins to believe he cannot lose. The scholar who learns much begins to believe he knows all. The wealthy man believes his fortune proves his superiority. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, faced this temptation daily. Surrounded by flattery and glory, he reminded himself constantly that he was mortal, fragile, temporary. Soon you will have forgotten all things, and all things will have forgotten you. Remembering death, memento mori, was his weapon against pride. Modern faces of pride. Today, pride thrives in new disguises. Academic pride, thinking degrees equal wisdom. Professional pride, believing titles make one untouchable. Digital pride, measuring worth by followers and likes. Yet all of these are fragile. Degrees fade, jobs end, fame dissolves. To build identity on them is to build on sand. Exercises to break. Pride practice. Humility. Seek correction. Admit ignorance quickly. Study daily. Approach knowledge as a beginner, never as a master. Serve others. Pride demands to be served. Humility serves. Memento mori. Reflect on mortality. Death humbles all men equally. Nightly review. Ask, where did pride blind me today? the fruits of breaking pride. When pride is broken, growth begins. Clarity, you see yourself honestly. Wisdom, you remain teachable. Respect, others trust humility more than arrogance. Strength, the man who admits weakness cannot be destroyed by exposure. Humility is not weakness, it is strength under truth. The cost of pride. Pride isolates, it drives away friends, silences honesty, and rejects help. Empires fall because leaders refuse counsel. Families fracture because pride resists apology. The proud man may rise high, but when he falls alone. Seneca warned, "No man was ever wise by chance." Wisdom requires humility, openness, correction. Pride kills this path before it begins. Pride is the blindfold of a soul. It convinces you that you are free while you stumble in darkness. The Stoics knew that true greatness is not in appearing flawless, but in remaining humble, even when strong. So admit your faults, seek correction, remember death. Break pride before it blinds you completely. For the man who conquers pride does not rise in arrogance. He stands in truth. Distraction is the thief of time. It does not come with noise or force, but with subtle invitation. A message, a notification, a trivial task, an endless scroll. One moment becomes another, and suddenly the day is gone. The Stoics warned that nothing is more precious than time, and nothing wastes it faster than distraction. The nature of distraction is not simply being busy, it is being busy with the wrong things. Seneca lamented, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." The distracted man spends his life not in pursuit of virtue, but in fragments of trivialities. Like a man pouring water into a broken jar, his efforts leak away. He is always active but never purposeful. Why distraction enslaves? Distraction enslaves by scattering attention. The distracted man cannot focus long enough to build, to grow, to endure. He is ruled not by intention, but by interruption. Epictetus asked his students, "How long will you delay before you demand the best of yourself?" The distracted man delays endlessly. He postpones purpose while surrendering to every new stimulus. The illusion of productivity. Distraction often masquerades as productivity. Answering endless emails, attending meaningless meetings, checking notifications, these feel like work, but accomplish nothing. Marcus Aurelius rebuked himself for wasting time on idle chatter. He reminded himself daily, "Concentrate every minute on doing what is in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness." Focus, not activity, is the mark of freedom. Modern faces of distraction. In the ancient world, distraction was festivals, gossip, and politics. Today, it is constant noise, social media, streaming, endless alerts. The average man spends more time staring at screens than reflecting on his own soul. The Stoics would see this clearly. Distraction is not harmless. It is slavery to noise, surrender of the mind, and betrayal of time. Exercises to break. Distraction. Guard the morning. Begin each day without screens. Set intention first. Single tasking. Focus on one task at a time until complete. Silence periods. Create hours of quiet, free of notifications. Daily reflection. Ask, what did I waste today? What truly mattered? Memento mori. Remember death. Trivial distractions shrink under eternity. The fruits of focus. When distraction is defeated, clarity appears. Depth. Work becomes meaningful, not scattered. Growth. Skills sharpen through sustained effort. Peace. Silence replaces noise. Freedom. You live by intention, not interruption. The focused man builds a fortress of the mind. The distracted man builds nothing. The cost of distraction. The distracted life is not only wasted, it is half-lived. The man who spends years chasing trivialities reaches death with regret, realizing too late that he never truly began to live. Seneca's warning echoes. While we are postponing, life speeds by. Distraction postpones endlessly until there is nothing left to postpone. Distraction is the chain of modern man. It does not bind the hands, but it chains the mind. The Stoics knew that freedom is focus, directing the soul toward virtue, not scattering it across trivialities. So silence the noise. Guard your time. Break distraction before it breaks your life. For the man who conquers distraction does not live long, but lives deeply. Death is the final certainty. Every man is born under the same sentence, and every life marches toward the same end. Yet most men live in denial. They tremble at the thought, avoid the subject, cling desperately to youth, wealth, and comfort, as if they could bribe eternity. The Stoics taught that the fear of death is one of the greatest chains of the soul, for the man who fears death cannot truly live. The nature of death. Death itself is not suffering, it is only the end of sensation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back, yet men fear death because they fear the unknown, or because they believe it steals what they love." But the Stoics reminded themselves daily, death is natural. It is not against nature, but part of it. To rage against it is to rage against the universe itself. Why fear of death enslaves? The man who fears death wastes his life avoiding it. He clings to safety, avoiding risk, never daring, never living fully. He obeys the whisper, "Stay safe, don't try, don't step forward, you could lose everything." But in seeking to avoid death, he avoids life. Seneca declared, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a man who is alive." Fear of death shrinks the soul until survival becomes the only goal. Memento mori. The Stoics practiced memento mori. Remember that you must die. Far from depressing, this reflection freed them. When you accept death, every day becomes precious. When you remember the end, you waste less on trivialities. Epictetus told his students, "Keep death and exile before your eyes every day, along with everything that seems terrible. By doing so, you will never have a mean thought, nor will you have excessive desire." The illusion of immortality. Modern life hides death. Hospitals, funeral homes, cosmetics, and distractions all conspire to conceal mortality. But denial does not grant freedom. It only deepens chains. The Stoic looks death in the face and says, "You are not my enemy, but my teacher." Each reminder of mortality is a call to live with urgency, with virtue, with clarity. Exercises to break the fear of death. Daily reflection. At night, reflect, if I did not wake tomorrow, did I live with virtue today? Study nature. Observe the cycle. Leaves fall, rivers flow, stars fade. Death is woven into life. Strip illusion. Ask, what is death but the end of sensation? Not torment, but release. Live urgently. Treat each day as a complete life, not rehearsal. Read the Stoics. Let their calm acceptance of death remind you that courage is possible. The fruits of accepting death. When fear of death dissolves, freedom blooms. Courage. You dare greatly, knowing risk is temporary. Peace. You do not tremble at the inevitable. Focus. You waste no time, for each day is priceless. Wisdom. You see life clearly when viewed against its end. The man who remembers death lives fully. The man who denies death wastes his days. The cost of fearing death. The one who fears death dies twice, once in imagination, and again in reality. He spends life in dread, never free, never at peace. His final moments are bitter, not because death arrives, but because he realizes he never truly lived. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." The greatest waste is fearing what cannot be avoided. Death is not the enemy. Fear of death is. The Stoics knew that to conquer this fear is to unlock life. For when you no longer tremble at the end, you are free to live with courage in the present. So reflect daily. Remember your mortality. Smile back at death. Break the fear of death before it breaks your life. For the man who accepts death has already conquered it and is finally free. The past is unchangeable, yet many live as if they could rewrite it. They replay mistakes, regrets, and losses endlessly, binding themselves to what is gone. The Stoics warn that chains of the past are among the heaviest, for they trap the mind in shadows instead of light. The man who clings to the past is not free. He is enslaved by memory. The nature of the past. The past is gone. Its events are carved in stone, untouched by your will. Seneca declared, "What is past is fixed and unalterable." Wisdom is to use the present well, yet the human mind resists. We revisit wounds, replay insults, regret choices. We drag the past into the present like a corpse on our back. But no man changes yesterday. He can only live today. Why the past? The past enslaves when it becomes obsession. A man wronged relives injustice. A man guilty relives mistakes. A man nostalgic relives glory. All are trapped, not by the past itself, but by attachment to it. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Forget the past, for it cannot be changed. Remember only what you must do now. To carry what cannot be altered is to waste the life you still possess." The illusion of control. We believe that by replaying the past, we gain control over it, that regret might rewrite it, that guilt might erase it, that nostalgia might revive it. But this is illusion. Control exists only in the present moment. The Stoics urged, "Do not fight ghosts." Epictetus asked, "Why do you demand that events happen as you wish, when you cannot even make the past unhappen?" The past is dead. The living is now. Modern chains of the past. Today, the chains of the past are amplified by memory and media. Photos, videos, endless reminders preserve mistakes and losses. Social media replays your history, good and bad. Many live not in the present, but in curated archives of what was. But the Stoic sees through this trap. He honors memory, but does not worship it. He learns from mistakes, but does not chain himself to them. Exercises to break the past. Write and burn. Write regrets on paper, then destroy them. Symbolize release. Daily focus. Each morning ask, "What can I control today?" Fix attention only there. Reframe mistakes. See past failures not as prisons, but as teachers. Silence. Nostalgia. Appreciate memories, but refuse to live inside them. Nightly review. End the day reflecting not on what is gone, but on what was done today. The fruits of release. When the chains of the past are broken, peace emerges. Freedom. No ghost binds you. Wisdom. Lessons remain, but wounds do not control. Clarity. The present shines without shadows. Strength. You face forward, not backward. The man free of the past lives with open hands, not clenched fists. The cost of clinging to the past. The man who refuses release lives half dead. He wastes the present, reliving what is gone. He builds nothing new. because his hands are chained to what is broken. He dies not only once, but many times, each time he relives regret. Seneca warned, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." The past makes men suffer endlessly in what has already ended. The past is not prison unless you refuse to leave. The Stoics knew that wisdom is not in replaying yesterday, but in mastering today. So honor the memory, but release the chain. Learn the lesson, but close the wound. Break the past before it breaks you. For the man who conquers the past finally steps free into life. The future does not yet exist, yet many live as if they could control it. They worry endlessly about what might happen, imagining dangers that may never arrive. The Stoics warn that anxiety about the future is one of the greatest thieves of life. For while fear of the past chains you backward, anxiety about the future drags you forward into shadows. The man who lives in anxiety does not live at all. He only trembles in anticipation of what may never come. The nature of anxiety. Anxiety is suffering in advance. It is pain created by imagination, not reality. Seneca wrote, "We are in the habit of exaggerating, or imagining, or anticipating sorrow. The anxious man dies 1,000 times before death arrives. He suffers storms that never break, losses that never occur, failures that never materialize. The future is not here, yet anxiety makes it present, poisoning today with tomorrow's ghosts. Why anxiety enslaves? Anxiety enslaves because it shifts the mind away from what is in your control. You cannot command tomorrow, but you can waste today fearing it. The anxious man avoids action, paralyzed by endless what-ifs. Epictetus asked, "What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about things." Anxiety is judgment stretched forward into what has not even happened. The illusion of control. Men worry because they believe worry itself will protect them. They imagine that constant anticipation will shield them from harm. But worry changes nothing. It does not stop the storm. It only drenches the soul before the rain arrives. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. Courage now is courage later. Worry is wasted twice." Modern faces of anxiety. Today, anxiety multiplies through constant information. News cycles, predictions, statistics, warnings, an endless flood of possible disasters. Most never touch your life, yet your mind bears them as if they were already here. Social media intensifies this by comparing futures. Others' successes and plans create panic. Am I behind? Will I fail? Anxiety is no longer just about survival. It is about status, progress, endless competition. Exercises to break anxiety. Focus on the present. Anchor the mind. Ask, what is in my control today? Limit. Forecasts. Consume less news, fewer predictions. Prepare, don't obsess. Plan briefly, then act. Do not dwell endlessly. Practice breathing. Calm the body, calm the mind. Memento mori. Remember, the future is not promised. Each day may be the last. Live it. The fruits of breaking anxiety. When anxiety is broken, freedom and peace return. Calm. No more torment from imaginary storms. Action. You move forward instead of freezing. Focus. Attention rests on what is real, not on illusions. Courage. You meet each moment as it comes, no more, no less. The man free of anxiety lives lightly, enjoying each hour instead of trembling through it. The cost of anxiety. Anxiety wastes life. It makes men old before their time, exhausted by burdens that never arrive. The anxious man reaches death with regret, realizing he never lived in peace because he lived always in anticipation of trouble. Seneca warned, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." The anxious man forfeits happiness by trading it for worry. The future is not your enemy. It is your illusion of it. The Stoics knew that tomorrow cannot be controlled, only met with reason when it comes. To live in anxiety is to die daily. To live free is to embrace the present. So release tomorrow. Guard today. Break anxiety before it steals your life. For the man who conquers anxiety walks calmly into whatever future comes, armed with courage and peace. Few chains are as heavy as the opinion of others. Many men live not by their own reason, but by the judgment of the crowd. They shape their choices by approval, their actions by applause, their worth by the shifting winds of reputation. The Stoics warned that slavery to opinion is one of the most subtle yet powerful forms of bondage. For the man who fears disapproval is never free. The nature of opinion. Opinion is fragile, unstable, and fickle. Today you are praised, tomorrow you are mocked. A crowd cheers when you succeed, then jeers when you fall. Seneca observed, "What difference does it make how many are your admirers if you depend on them for your own happiness?" To live by opinion is to surrender control of your soul. You become an actor performing for an audience, not a man living with virtue. Why opinion enslaves? Opinion enslaves by replacing your compass with another's. Instead of asking, "What is right?" you ask, "What will they think?" Virtue is replaced by vanity. Duty is replaced by fear of disapproval. Marcus Aurelius rebuked himself. "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." The irony is sharp. Men live by strangers' voices instead of their own reason. The illusion of approval. Approval feels like strength, but it is fragile. One insult, one rumor, one false story can shatter it. If your peace depends on reputation, you will never rest. Epictetus asked, "If a man gave your body to any stranger he met, you would be angry. Yet you hand over your mind to anyone who insults you, leaving it disturbed and troubled. Are you not ashamed? To be ruled by opinion is to surrender your soul freely." Modern faces of opinion. In the digital age, opinion is everywhere. Likes, followers, comments, reviews, an endless court of judgment. Many live for numbers on a screen, mistaking them for worth. But this slavery is harsher than ever. It demands constant performance, endless conformity. The Stoic would reject this as madness, choosing instead to live by principle, not popularity. Exercises to break the tyranny of opinion. Silence the crowd. Spend time alone, away from noise, to hear your own reason. Act from duty. Ask, "Is this virtuous?" Not, "Will they approve?" Limit validation. Avoid measuring worth by numbers or applause. Memento mori. In death, opinion vanishes. Why live for what dies? Practice indifference. Receive praise and insult alike with calm neutrality. The fruits of freedom from opinion. When opinion no longer rules, peace and strength emerge. Clarity. You see what is right, unclouded by noise. Freedom. No stranger's voice controls your mood. Integrity. You live as you are, not as others demand. Courage. You dare greatly, unafraid of disapproval. The man free of opinion is steady, like a rock in waves. The cost of living by opinion. The man ruled by opinion never rests. He fears criticism, craves approval, and wastes his life pleasing others. His soul is fragile, tossed by every voice. Seneca reminded, "What is the good of receiving praise if you are not the better for it? Empty words cannot build strength. Opinion is a tyrant. It flatters, deceives, enslaves." The Stoics knew that freedom is found only when you no longer live for applause, but for virtue. So silence the crowd. Live by reason. Break opinion before it breaks you. For the man who conquers opinion does not need applause. He walks free in truth. Attachment feels like love, but often it is a chain. To care is natural, but to cling is slavery. The Stoics warn that attachment to possessions, people, or status creates vulnerability. For the more tightly you grip, the more fragile you become. The man who cannot endure loss is already enslaved by fear of losing. The nature of attachment. Attachment whispers, "I cannot live without this. I cannot be whole without them. I cannot endure if it is taken." Yet life constantly takes. Time removes youth. Fortune removes wealth. Death removes loved ones. If you build your peace on what is perishable, you condemn yourself to suffering. Epictetus said, "Never say of anything, 'I lost it, but I returned it.' Your child, your wife, your property were given for the present, not forever. They are not yours. They are only lent to forget this is to carry chains of grief before grief arrives." Why attachment? Enslaves. Attachment enslaves because it ties your happiness to what you cannot control. The tighter you cling, the more fragile your peace. The loss of wealth breaks the man who cannot imagine life without luxury. The loss of reputation destroys the man who depended on applause. The death of a loved one crushes the man who never prepared his heart for mortality. The Stoics did not reject love or possessions. They rejected slavery to them. To love deeply yet accept a loss calmly is strength. To cling desperately and collapse at loss is weakness. The illusion of permanence. Men cling because they believe things will last, but nothing lasts. Youth fades, health decays, possessions rust, and even the closest relationships end in death. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Reflect often on how swiftly things pass away and are gone, those that are now and those to come. To build your life on what cannot remain is to build on sand. When the tide comes, collapse is certain." Modern faces of attachment today, attachment is everywhere. To careers, to identities, to digital status. People cling to their job titles, to their possessions, to their image on screens. They believe, "Without this, I am nothing." But jobs end, fortunes vanish, trends shift, and the soul that depends on them collapses. The Stoic instead anchors identity in virtue, something no loss can destroy. Exercises to break. Attachment practice. Letting go. Imagine possessions as borrowed. Use them without clinging. Negative visualization. Reflect on losing what you cherish, not to grieve, but to prepare. Gratitude over clinging. Thank life for gifts without demanding permanence. Memento mori. Remember mortality. People and possessions are temporary companions. Simplify possessions. Own less, to cling less. The fruits of freedom from attachment. Breaking attachment brings resilience. Peace. You no longer tremble at loss. Strength. Love becomes pure, not desperate. Freedom. Nothing owns you. Not wealth, not reputation, not even fear of death. Gratitude. Each gift is sweeter when you know it is temporary. The man free of attachment does not love less. He loves better, because he loves without fear. The cost of attachment. The man chained by attachment suffers twice, once in fear of losing, and again in grief when loss arrives. His joy is poisoned by anxiety, his love by fear, his peace by clinging. Seneca warned, he suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary. Attachment is suffering before loss even comes. Attachment weighs the soul. It promises love, but delivers fear. The Stoics knew that freedom is not indifference, but acceptance, that to enjoy without clinging is the highest strength. So hold lightly, love deeply, but without chains. Break attachment before it breaks you. For the man who conquers attachment does not lose when life takes. He simply returns what was never fully his. Comparison is a quiet poison. It does not wound the body, but it corrodes the soul. It whispers, "Look at him. He has more. Look at her. She is happier. Look at them. They are further ahead." And so, instead of living your own life, you live in the shadow of another's. The Stoics warn that comparison is slavery, for it binds your worth to the lives of strangers. The nature of comparison. Comparison begins in small glances. A neighbor's house larger than yours, a colleague's promotion sooner than yours, a friend's fortune brighter than yours. At first it feels harmless, just noticing. But soon it becomes bitterness. You no longer see what you have, only what you lack. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Comparison creates craving, not for what you need, but for what others possess. Why comparison? Enslaves comparison. Enslaves by shifting your value outward. Instead of asking, "Am I virtuous?" you ask, "Am I better than them?" Instead of living with purpose, you live for position. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Ambition means tying your well-being to what others say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions." The man who lives in comparison never rests, because there is always someone higher, richer, stronger. The illusion of progress. Comparison pretends to inspire progress. You see another succeed and push yourself harder. But this is not virtue. It is envy disguised as ambition. Progress born of comparison is fragile, for it collapses when surpassed again. True growth must come from within, not from the shadow of others. Epictetus taught, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, growth requires ignoring the crowd's judgment, not chasing its approval. Modern faces of comparison. Today, comparison is constant. Social media showcases curated lives, wealth, beauty, success, happiness. But what you see is illusion, a polished mask. Still, men compare their hidden struggles to others' staged triumphs and feel smaller. The Stoic sees clearly, comparison is irrational, for no two lives are the same. To compare is to measure apples against stars. Exercises to break. Comparison, gratitude practice. Each day, list what you have, not what you lack. Limit social media. Reduce exposure to endless false displays. Compete only with self. Ask, "Am I better than I was yesterday?" Not, "Am I better than him?" Reframe success. Define success by virtue, not by wealth or fame. Silence the crowd. Live for your path, not for applause. The fruits of freedom from comparison. When comparison is broken, peace returns. Contentment, joy in your own blessings. Freedom, no stranger's success can rob your happiness. Focus, energy spent on your growth, not others' lives. Love, you can admire without resentment, celebrate without bitterness. The man free of comparison does not live smaller, he lives fuller. The cost of comparison. Comparison steals joy. The man who lives by it never rests, for there is always someone richer, stronger, luckier. He may rise, but he never feels enough. He dies dissatisfied, not because he lacked, but because he compared. Seneca warned, "No man is more unhappy than he who is never content." Comparison ensures you will never be. Comparison is poison. It blinds you to blessings, chains you to envy, and wastes life on shadows. The Stoics knew that freedom lies in contentment, in living your own path without looking sideways. So stop measuring. Be grateful. Break comparison before it breaks you. For the man who conquers comparison does not live in others' shadows. He walks freely in his own light. Men crave control. They want certainty, order, and mastery over every detail of life. They plan endlessly, demand guarantees, and rage when events defy them. Yet the Stoics warned, control is largely illusion. We command little, and most lies beyond our grasp. The man who insists on controlling all things is not free. He is enslaved by frustration, forever at war with the universe. The nature of control feels empowering, but it is fragile. Weather, health, fate, other people, all slip through your fingers. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." Why? Because we believe we can control outcomes and panic when they do not bend to our will. The Stoics divided life into two realms, what is in our control and what is not. Our thoughts, choices, and actions, ours. Fortune, opinion, death, not ours. To confuse the two is to live in chains. Why the illusion enslaves? The man who demands control becomes prisoner to every disruption. A delay enrages him, a loss destroys him, a betrayal shatters him. His peace depends not on his own reason, but on events he cannot command. Epictetus said, "Some things are in our control and others not." If you think the things beyond your control are yours, you will be hindered, you will lament, you will blame both gods and men. Slavery is mistaking the world for your servant. The tyranny of outcomes. Control is most deceptive in outcomes. A man may labor with discipline, yet fortune may still deny success. If his peace depends on results, he is chained. The Stoic works for excellence, but surrenders the outcome. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The man who accepts this is free, even in failure." Modern faces of the illusion. Today, the hunger for control grows fiercer. Men attempt to control reputation with carefully crafted images. They attempt to control health with endless supplements, status with frantic work, future with constant planning. But still, illness comes, jobs vanish, and uncertainty reigns. The Stoic accepts uncertainty not as defeat, but as truth. To resist reality is slavery. To align with it is freedom. Exercises to break the illusion of control. Control audit. Divide each worry into mine and not mine. Act only on the first. Release ritual. When frustration rises, remind yourself, this is not mine to command. Practice surrender. Accept small inconveniences daily without anger. Detach from outcome. Focus on effort, not result. Memento mori. Reflect on mortality. Death proves how little we control. The fruits of acceptance. When illusion is broken, peace emerges. Calm. No more rage at what is inevitable. Strength. Focus rests on action, not illusion. Clarity. Energy is saved for what you can change. Freedom. The world no longer masters you. The man who accepts limits gains mastery of self. The cost of control's illusion. The man who insists on control wastes his life. He fights storms, curses fate, and grows bitter at each loss. His days are filled with frustration, because the world never bends fully to his will. Seneca warned, "It is not that life is short, but that we make it so. Much of life is wasted in rage against what cannot be altered. Control is illusion." The Stoics knew this, which is why they built freedom not on the world, but on the mind. To demand control is slavery. To accept limits is peace. So release the grip, master your choices, surrender the rest. Break the illusion before it breaks you. For the man who conquers himself, not the world, is truly free. Pleasure feels like freedom. It delights, it comforts, it promises joy. Yet the Stoics warned, pleasure, when pursued as the highest good, becomes a prison. For the man who cannot deny himself is not free. He is chained by appetite, ruled by indulgence, enslaved by desire. Pleasure is not evil, but dependence on it is bondage. The nature of pleasure. Pleasure is fleeting. A sweet taste fades, a warm bed cools, a victory is soon forgotten. The soul that builds its happiness on pleasure is like a man building a house on shifting sand. Seneca wrote, "Pleasure, unless it has been kept within bounds, tends to rush headlong into the abyss of sorrow." The danger is not in enjoying pleasure, but in being ruled by it. Why pleasure enslaves? The man who obeys pleasure cannot endure its absence. He fears discomfort, avoids effort, and craves indulgence. He eats not from hunger, but from habit. He drinks not from thirst, but from desire. He seeks constant entertainment, unable to endure silence. Epictetus warned, "Freedom is not achieved by satisfying desires, but by eliminating them." Pleasure enslaves because it is never satisfied. Each indulgence breeds hunger for more. The illusion of happiness. Pleasure deceives by pretending to be happiness, but happiness built on indulgence collapses the moment it fades. True contentment, the Stoics taught, comes from virtue, courage, wisdom, justice, temperance. Pleasure can sweeten life, but it cannot anchor it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "When you have been tempted by pleasure, remember, this, too, soon passes." The emperor knew that even the grandest delights vanish quickly. Modern faces of pleasure. In the ancient world, it was feasts, wine, and luxury. Today, it is fast food, endless entertainment, instant gratification. The modern man drowns in pleasures at his fingertips, yet he is restless, anxious, unsatisfied. He chases more, believing the next indulgence will finally bring peace. The Stoic sees through this. He does not reject all pleasures, but he refuses to be their slave. Exercises to break the prison of pleasure. Voluntary abstinence. Practice saying no to indulgence. Skip meals, fast, or deny a craving. Savor with restraint. Enjoy pleasures without clinging. Stop before dependency. Replace with virtue. Seek joy in discipline, not indulgence. Silence entertainment. Spend time without distraction or stimulation. Negative visualization. Reflect. Could I endure life without this pleasure? Train the answer to be yes. The fruits of mastering pleasure. When pleasure is mastered, life grows stronger. Resilience. You endure lack without despair. Peace. You no longer chase endlessly. Freedom. Nothing owns you. Not taste, not lust, not indulgence. Joy. Pleasures enjoyed in moderation taste sweeter. The man free of pleasure is content with little. He is rich even in poverty. The cost of chasing pleasure. The man who worships pleasure is never satisfied. He rises hungry, indulges, and hungers again. He wastes his life feeding an appetite that cannot be filled. His body weakens, his mind dulls, his soul softens. Seneca warned, "No one is more unhappy than the man who has never faced adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Pleasure removes adversity, but also removes strength. Pleasure is not freedom. It is prison when it rules you. The Stoics knew that the sweetest life is not the one filled with endless indulgence, but the one free from dependence. So enjoy lightly, refuse chains, break pleasure before it breaks you. For the man who conquers pleasure tastes true freedom, richer than any feast. Discipline is order, the alignment of action with reason. Without it, life becomes chaos, scattered, weak, enslaved by impulses. The Stoics taught that discipline is not punishment, but freedom. For the man who cannot discipline himself will be disciplined by circumstances, ruled by passions, and broken by weakness. The nature of indiscipline. Indiscipline is not simply laziness, it is disorder. It is knowing what to do, but failing to do it. It is setting goals, but never rising to meet them. It is promises made and broken, duty known but neglected. Seneca warned, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." The undisciplined man scatters his life in fragments, never focusing, never finishing. He is busy, but not effective. Alive, but not purposeful. Why indiscipline enslaves? Indiscipline enslaves because it surrenders control to impulses. Hunger dictates meals, fatigue dictates effort, distraction dictates focus. The man without discipline is like a ship without a rudder, tossed by every wave. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Indiscipline is slavery to moods, appetites, and urges. The illusion of freedom. The undisciplined man believes he is free because he does whatever he wants. But this is not freedom. It is chaos. True freedom is the power to do what you must, even when you do not want to. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I rise to do the work of a man.'" Discipline is not about comfort, but about rising to duty. Modern faces of indiscipline. Today, indiscipline thrives in small habits. Endless scrolling, missed deadlines, broken promises to self and others. Comfort is chosen over growth, distraction over focus, indulgence over restraint. The undisciplined man is not weak because he lacks ability, but because he wastes it. His potential rots unused. Exercises to break. Indiscipline, guard routines, build daily rituals, keep them sacred. Small victories, begin with one discipline daily, rising on time, finishing one task. Body training, discipline the body to strengthen the mind. Resist impulse, practice saying no to sudden desires. Daily review. Each night, measure yourself honestly. The fruits of discipline. Discipline yields order, clarity, strength. Focus. Energy flows to what matters, not to impulses. Strength. Endurance grows when comfort is denied. Freedom. You live by reason, not appetite. Achievement. Dreams turn into reality through consistent effort. The disciplined man is reliable, respected, unshaken. The cost of indiscipline. Indiscipline wastes life. Opportunities vanish, trust is lost, strength decays. The man ruled by impulses lives half a life, always beginning, never completing. Seneca observed, "Life is long if you know how to use it." The undisciplined man shortens life by squandering it in fragments. Indiscipline is chaos. It promises freedom, but delivers slavery. The Stoics knew that mastery begins with order, rising to duty, ruling impulses, living by reason. So wake when comfort whispers sleep, act when excuses whisper later. Break indiscipline before it breaks you. For the man who conquers indiscipline does not lose freedom, he finally gains it. All the enemies we have faced, comfort, fear, desire, anger, envy, pride, distraction, attachment, and more, share one root. They live not outside, but inside. The final enemy is the self itself. The Stoics taught that no man is harmed as deeply by others as by his own weakness. The man who fails to conquer himself will always remain a slave, no matter how free he appears. The nature of the inner enemy. The self is both master and traitor. Within one soul are two voices, one of reason, one of impulse. One urges discipline, the other indulgence. One whispers virtue, the other passion. Epictetus asked his students, "Who is your master?" Whoever has authority over anything that you seek or shun. Often, the master is not another man. It is yourself, when you obey weakness instead of wisdom. Why the self is the greatest enemy. Enemies outside can wound the body, but only the self can destroy the soul. No insult, no betrayal, no injustice can enslave you unless you allow it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But most men surrender their minds. They allow impulses, moods, and appetites to rule. They lash out in anger, collapse in fear, drown in desire. They blame others, yet the true tyrant is within. The illusion of victories. Men boast of victories over others, wealth gained, rivals defeated, nations conquered. Yet if they are ruled by lust, pride, or fear, what victory is this? Alexander the Great conquered half the known world, yet could not conquer his own temper. His empire collapsed after him, for he had not mastered himself. The Stoics would say, better to conquer the self than the world, for the self is the only empire that endures. Modern faces of the inner enemy. Today, the inner enemy appears in small ways. Procrastination, self-doubt, excuses, indulgence, resentment. You need no enemy to destroy you. You can sabotage yourself with your own habits. The Stoic path begins not with blaming the world, but with holding the mirror. Ask, am I my own master or my own slave? The answer decides everything. Exercises to conquer the self. Daily reflection. Each night examine, where did I obey reason? Where did I obey weakness? Voluntary hardship. Train the soul through chosen discomfort. Resist the first impulse. Pause before acting on emotion or desire. Anchor in virtue. Define your identity not by pleasure, but by courage, wisdom, justice, temperance. Memento mori. Remember, life is brief. Do not waste it as your own jailer. The fruits of self-mastery. When the self is conquered, freedom is complete. Peace. No inner war between impulse and reason. Strength. You endure storms without breaking. Clarity. You see life as it is, without illusion. Freedom. Nothing outside can enslave you. The man who rules himself cannot be ruled by another. The cost of failing. The inner war. The man who fails to conquer himself lives divided. His reason knows the path, but his weakness drags him away. He blames the world, but his true enemy sits within. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short life, but that we make it so." Much of life is wasted, not by others, but by ourselves. The final enemy is the self. All other chains grow from this root. The Stoics knew, the greatest war is within, and the greatest victory is mastery of self. So hold the mirror, face the traitor within, conquer yourself, or remain a slave. For in the end, there is no other choice.